there's a study with 140,000 people in America, so big study, and who all had heart attacks. And they found that literally it was 50-50 had high cholesterol, low cholesterol. So there wasn't even an association one way or the other, right? And so again, like if you don't even have an association, that shows that there's no causation, right? You can't prove causation from association, but if there's no association, there's definitely no causation. And
one of those numbers being flagged on his blood work is also part of a giant money machine of being able to prescribe prescription drugs. Yeah. Even when it comes to your blood glucose levels, for example, they keep moving the field goal post for stuff like that all the time so that they can prescribe it to more and more people. And I'm not saying that things aren't helpful. They could definitely be really helpful, but the more people that they can issue these drugs to, the more money they can make. And again, maybe they believe, maybe some of the people behind it believe that this is going to be a healthier way because they're not looking into it maybe as deeply as some other people. But it's definitely frustrating because then you see like a red thing on your score sheet there when you have your blood work, and then you talk to Stan Efferding or talk to someone like yourself, and it's like kind of a trifecta of things. There's like 4 or 5 things we need to look at, and you start to learn it's a rabbit hole, and that you can't. It's hard to know this stuff yourself, and it's hard to, even worse if you're just your average consumer just trying to get some blood work done, because you keep hearing people talk about blood work and you're like, I should get some done. It'd be great to look under the hood. You look under the hood and you get all these red markers everywhere and you're like, what the fuck? And then maybe they're not even necessarily high. Maybe in his case, maybe the cholesterol is not even necessarily high, but they keep moving that field goal post so that they can prescribe drugs.
Yeah, and statins are the most they're the most profitable drugs that's ever been made. And so that was the thing. They established, or they said they established, that cholesterol was bad. And so the only thing is there's cholesterol up, heart disease up, right? So you see all these studies from Keyes and all the other guys who go, as cholesterol goes up, heart disease goes up. Okay, so the only thing that matters is bringing cholesterol down. And so that's what statins are. So they're bringing cholesterol down, and they do that. And they might provide other benefits, sort of an anti-inflammatory sort of benefit, like aspirin. This is why aspirin's sort of beneficial, and that's actually what people think is more likely to be the benefit from these statins, is that it's sort of this mild anti-inflammatory effect, which will probably get a much better effect just from taking aspirin, and you're not getting a lot of the side effects as well. But there have been studies, I think in 2015. It was like 60,000 people over the age of 65. And again, they found that higher LDL cholesterol, these people were having less cardiac events, less heart attacks, less strokes. People with lower LDL cholesterol were having a worse time of this. The ones that did the worst were low LDL cholesterol and statins. And so, but this was sort of, it wasn't like super strong. It wasn't like they were just massively dying off or anything like that. It was like it's either sort of about dead even or maybe a slightly worse. And so the argument, the conclusion, and the argument from the authors was like, hey, we really need to rethink, statins and cholesterol here, because, from this study, it shows that statins are really not doing anything, by either neutral and not giving a benefit, or even possibly causing detriment. And so why are we doing this? These things have side effects. These things have a cost. And so, that's something we should think about. It's certainly not, you're reducing these cholesterol and it's just this massive bonus in health. The Journal of the American College of Cardiology, so this isn't just my opinion. The Journal of the American College of Cardiology published in 2020 a position paper from people who had formerly been very anti-saturated fat. And these same authors then published to say, actually, we did this massive literature review of all the data, and there is really no upper limit on the amount of saturated fat you can eat. It is not associated with heart disease. Full stop. More than that, so not full stop. They actually found there's an inverse relationship between saturated fat and heart and stroke. So the more saturated fat people consumed, the lower their stroke rate. The less saturated fat they consumed, the higher their stroke rate. and no association with heart disease. That's the position of the Journal of the American College of Cardiology right now.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about Merrick Health, the premium telehealth clinic owned by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. Now, when some people think about Merrick Health, they think it's just another one of those testosterone companies or another one of those blood work companies. But Merrick Health is really cool because, yeah, you can get your blood work done, you can get hormone optimization, but you can also get nootropics. You can also get Viagra. You can get literally whatever you need from that clinic. And they make it very, very easy for you. That's why we love Merrick. So, Andrew, how can people learn about it?
Yes, Merrick Health is not just a one-trick pony, but if you did want to get your labs done, we highly recommend the Power Project panel. That's 28 different labs. That's also going to come with a client care coordinator that's going to give you a lab analysis, and they're going to work with you and help you optimize your body. Again, that's at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. At checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $101 off that entire panel. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
What about in terms of keto and seizures? You were mentioning that a little bit earlier. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, so that's something that's it's very, very well established in the literature going back nearly 100 years, that putting people on a ketogenic diet, especially for pediatric epilepsy, that's when it's been most studied in, but it certainly would help in anyone suffering from epilepsy, that being on a ketogenic diet significantly suppresses seizures. And in fact, just having higher ketones is very helpful. I learned in biochemistry, 23 years ago now, that our brain's primary fuel source is ketones, or are ketones. And the argument for that was that, I argue that our fed state and fasting state are flipped. I don't think that's right. Or not flipped, but just incorrectly named. That our so-called fasting state or ketogenic state, I think that's our natural metabolic state. But either way, whatever state you're in, whether you're eating carbs or not eating carbs, your brain always runs on ketones. It's just that in the so-called fed state, when you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, it's mostly running on glucose. So that's what people say, well, that's our fed state. That's our normal state. So that's our brain's primary resource. However, it always runs on ketones, some ketones. And when your ketone level gets up to a certain point, even if you have an abundance of glucose, it actually switches solely to running on ketones. There are parts of your brain that will still run on glucose, but the majority of it, once you get enough ketones for your brain to run on it, it will just run on ketones. So I think that means it prefers that, right? Because there's more glucose available, but it's choosing to go on the ketones. There is something to do with that higher level of ketones that seems to help suppress seizures. So there's something to do. What is a seizure? A seizure is overexcitation of your neurons, and that propagates this electrical signal across a larger area of your brain, and it just makes everything activate, and you just go into a seizure. And so that can be quite harmful. It can be life-threatening. Even just having a seizure and falling over, hitting your head while you're driving a car, you can have an accident that's fatal. But the seizure itself can permanently damage your brain or even kill you. So they're very, very dangerous. And for hundreds of years, the only treatment for seizures was fasting. They just got them to just stop eating. And then about 100 years ago, they figured out, actually, if you just don't eat carbs, you'll get the same benefit. And so there have been decades and decades and decades and decades of work on that, showing that a ketogenic diet is very beneficial to people suffering from seizures. And this is something that actually is still used today, especially in pediatrics. But it's been largely replaced by pharmacology just because it's easier. It's easier to just say, here's a pill, get out of my office, than actually sit down and talk about diet, nutrition, and lifestyle, because that takes longer and you may have to convince people. But it works, and it's I think it's going to benefit their life in a lot of other ways as well. Someone can be more sensitive to these things and have epilepsy and develop seizures, but it's doing other things to their body as well. It's just they're much more sensitive to that. And I think that as a doctor, you are obligated to try to do the right thing for your patient, even if it takes you more time, even if it's less convenient, even if it makes you less money. I think that's just ridiculous that you do anything else. And so I try to have longer conversations with people, even though I'm strapped for time. I'm trying to see a lot of people. I like, okay, this is important to go over this. And I have a lot of people saying, it's like, yeah, no one's ever explained this to me like it before. It's like, well, they really should have. This is important stuff. And I think that as doctors, like, okay, they say, well, it's very difficult to get people to adhere to a ketogenic diet and to stop eating carbs. They like eating carbs, but it's like, okay, but you at least try. Because this is something that is safe, it's effective, and it has 100 years of established research and benefit, right? And so you at least try, and you say, hey, this is a good idea. If they're not able to do it, then okay, then you move on to pharmacology. But right now, the starting point for many neurologists is just the medication. They say, oh, well, this is hard. We're having on 3 different medications now. Well, what about dropping carbs? Maybe see if you can do that. I think that's backwards. I think you start with getting rid of carbohydrates and then move on to the pharmacology if you need to. But a lot of people are rediscovering this and rediscovering this fact that being in ketosis, being on a ketogenic diet can be very, very helpful, even when medications may not be. So thankfully, even though it's not coming from the source it should be coming from the medical establishment. It should be coming from doctors. It's at least it is getting out there that this can help people, and more people are coming to it and getting their seizures under control when and getting off medication, which is amazing.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, go ahead and comment down below and let us know what you liked about it. All right, share this with a friend. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also we are on Reddit and Discord. All that's down below. All our sponsors and everyone that supports us down below there too, so you can get whatever you like from us. All right? Peace.